¿Cómo va? Soy Pablo. Esta es una dimensión alternativa donde solo hablo español y todos los videojuegos funcionan perfectamente, pero una vez me quedo pensando que ¿qué está pasando con los otros Pablos? This place fucking sucks. Ah, God, my eyes!
That's the sound of a man who just played a modern video game, but you're probably asking yourself, Pablo, how is that even possible? We live in the 21st century where technology is madly advanced and games are coming out to look as sharp and clean as ever.
Say the exact same thing to my eye doctor when he gets here.
We live in a world where games can look their very best, but when the higher-ups want to stab you in the back and leave you with the rush game, they'll do it.
What the fuck is this?
Since the beginning of the 7th generation, video games have been made to look, sound, and feel amazing. Quality over quantity was crucial. It was important to make sure your fans don't fucking hate you. Companies are very careful about this because one fuck up and it all comes crashing down. But eventually, we all knew this day would come.
I wonder what the big news is.
Look, I know developing a game is hard work. It takes time to write, code, and publish, but some companies have been cutting corners to meet a deadline, launching the game in an incomplete state, which gives us bugs, glitches, and apologies later that day. We're at a point where the instruction manuals don't even talk about the game anymore.
It's just an IOU.
I think one of the first game companies to really break expectations for future titles is Nintendo.
Can you guys please fuck off?
Nintendo is one of the biggest names in the video game industry, but that doesn't mean they won't pull some scummy shit and overcharge you for it. They charge us $60 for 2D games. There's obviously no guilt in this. They also make shit games and overcharge you for it.
Impossible, not my Nintendo. Go on.
Not only that, but they're releasing games that are clearly unfinished, but they fix that by releasing free DLC. The Splatoon series, Super Mario Maker, ARMS, Animal Crossing, and Nintendo Switch Sports all released with very little content that eventually, when they finished it, people stop playing them. They're never that buggy or glitchy, they're just boring. Raise your hand if you remember the last time you opened your ARMS case, because I sure as hell can't. But Nintendo isn't the only company to fuck us and get away with it. We also got good old false advertising to thank. Trailers, articles, employees coming out to talk big about the title, but then when the game releases, it's a big fucking mess. Recently, Sony's been porting over some of their IPs onto PC. God of War, Spider-Man, Uncharted, and more recently, The Last of Us.
Wait, so what's the problem here?
These ports can be shit.
Oh.
Uncharted and Spider-Man had no problems from what I could see. The game would crash from time to time, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But Miles Morales and The Last of Us tell a whole different story. Miles Morales was buggy, had a number of glitches that required me to restart the mission or wait for an enemy to die on their own when they clip through the wall. And sometimes the music and dialogue just wouldn't work. And I'm nothing without my Spider-Man quips and good music.
What can I say? I'm easy to please.
And The Last of Us, how could this have happened? There were the usual bugs and glitches, but we also have Joel's face not rendering, Stiffy Joel, and my personal favorite, crashing your whole PC Joel. This port was a huge fail. I never thought Naughty Dog could ever do something like this, especially during its peak with the success of the show and the resurfaced popularity in the game. Only for Naughty Dog to rush a port for one of the best games of the generation, and for $70? That's inexcusable. Take that, billion-dollar corporation. While we're on the topic of ports, a few games that have been remade or remastered that I have aren't working the best. And I find that to be impossible since the game has already been made, and for most remasters they just polish the game, so how could this happen? Sonic Colors had a few issues on launch, mainly for the Switch version. The visuals were so f***ed that it could even cause epilepsy in some players. And the PS4 version didn't have any issues from what I saw, but it just doesn't look as clear.
All you had to do was color inside of the lines!
This is a game that not everyone is gonna know, but if you do, what are you doing later? Destroy All Humans, a game made by THQ for the PS2 and the original Xbox, where you play as an alien named Crypto who goes to Earth to where you disguise yourself as a human who slowly takes over the United States. Oh, and you zap people, throw people in lakes with telekinesis, and burn down national landmarks. It doesn't matter. Why am I talking about this game?
Take a wild guess.
Destroy All Humans 1 and 2 got remasters for modern platforms, and this game looks amazing. This isn't just a paint job, this is a complete cleanup. Improved visuals, better movement, all of Crypto's weapons have been reworked, and the saucer handles like a dream now. There was even a lost level that got brought back and remade. This is looking to be one of the best modern remasters ever. But then, things just don't work the way you want them to. NPCs can be glitched, cutscenes won't work the way it's supposed to, sometimes even the physics don't work. But hey, it's an old game brought back in modern platforms, and they're only 30 to 40 bucks, and on top of that, they're pretty much playable when you compare them to the PS2 versions. Now, if you want to talk about unplayability, let's talk shit about EA. Now, if you don't know me, allow me to show you a video that I prepared to show you how I feel about EA.
Hi, I'm Pablo, and I hate EA.
EA has been the butt of many jokes in the past. Anthem, Battlefield 2042, their gambling controversies, and their overhaul of sports games. I heard 2042 was a pretty decent game, but it had issues that were never taken care of, which in the end, the game died a slow and painful death, which ended with the player count dropping and developers just completely giving up on the game. But with every 2042 in a sports game, EA publishes some saviors to keep them alive. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and It Takes Two.
What the fuck, is that it?
Star Wars and It Takes Two have a few things in common. A good story, amazing gameplay, and breathtaking visuals. But It Takes Two has completely resurrected co-op gaming. I won't go too deep into this since I want to make this a standalone. But Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, my god. I just beat it and it's by far one of the best games I've played in a while. But truth be told, I'm not a Star Wars fan in the slightest bit. Just ask me what I think about the series and I'll make some bullshit up. I've never seen any of the movies, but I have played a lot of the games, and after finishing Fallen Order, I might have to pick up the new one, Jedi Survivor. Oh, come on!
God damn it, I trusted you!
Star Wars Jedi Survivor is by far one of the worst PC ports to come out this year. It hasn't even been a week! This game not only takes more than 100 gigabytes to run, but you need a high-end computer and a fucking car battery to even break 60 frames on this piece of shit. That's fucking outrageous. My setup can barely run this game, so I'm not buying it right now. But people keep defending this title for its inexcusable bugs and glitches because it's just a brand new game. Then again, wouldn't you want your game to run well when it's new? First impressions are pretty important, and if my game that I spent my money on doesn't get past the first loading screen, then I'm closing it, refunding it, and spending it on a whole different game that can actually run. And Cyberpunk 2077.
Yep, that corpse is completely decomposed.
Now I know the developers don't actually want this game to run like this, unless you're the Saints Row reboot, but when the higher-ups get in the way and advertise the release date to get hype around the name, they have no choice. But I would almost argue that the longer they take, the better, since we get a high-value product that's actually worth the money, but no. Instead, we'll just let the big companies bully us, release the game in a bad state, and then we're the ones suffering for it. And to the diehards out there, why do you keep fighting for this? When people rightfully criticize a game for its issues, you get a horde of fans dogpiling on you, where they call you ungrateful, picky, and some even say that their game runs fine. Well, good for you, but why do some of you have to keep poor-shaming others just because they don't want to spend $2,000 so their game can run fine? You're letting the big companies take your money and give you some low-quality shit. Might as well be saying,
hey, you must be here to fuck my wife, she's right over there.
This is the ninth generation. We have consoles that can run some beefy titles, TVs and monitors that have 8K support, and to have this nice setup to have a game that can barely break 30 frames a second. Modern gaming is becoming less accessible and more complicated, and the games are looking good, but run like piss. I used to love buying games at launch, but ever since Avengers stabbed me in the back, I've just been watching gameplays and looking at reviews to make sure that the game not only works, but is actually worth the $60 to $70 that I'm putting into it. But then, I proceed to buy every Nintendo game on launch.
Modern gaming is well on its way to recovery. Just a few more patches, an update, and a good apology, and we should be good to go. But I'll never understand why we don't give the companies enough criticism. Hell, if we don't hold back on Ultra Smash for being shit, then why should The Last of Us get a pass when it can barely run? And I know these games will eventually be fixed and actually be playable, but until then, I'm just gonna save my money and watch from a distance. And if you're gonna keep fighting me about this, just take this and get the fuck out of here.